like how did you get involved in Snapchat? Like, like if you know Beau from his past, he was heavily involved in Snapchat. He used to put heaps of things up before OnlyFans was a thing. And you know what? It's quite funny because if OnlyFans had been a thing back then, it probably you would never have got as much maybe dislike, if OnlyFans was back then because you were doing Snapchat. So you're almost like ahead of the game. Really, you should have brought out OnlyFans.
A man that's out of control, drinking and drugs and not being emotionally available for his kids and hitting his wife and fucking out there violence and getting locked up and using drugs and alcohol to mask what he's going through, that's weak. What is up, crew, and welcome to episode 2 of Spill the Tea with Beau and
Kirstie Whittingham.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about how we met and let the conversation roll. So here we are, Kirstie, again in Bali.
Yes.
On a podcast called Spill the Tea that we have been talking about for so long. We finally did it.
100%.
100%. So how did we meet? How did you first encounter Beau?
I think I encountered him the same way a majority of people did. Facebook. Good old fucking Facebook. So yeah, I was scrolling Facebook and one day, I don't even know who added who, but
you obviously added me.
I don't think so. I reckon you probably outsourced someone to find me into your life. Universe.
This was a long time ago, right?
Yeah. So how many years? Like we've been together for 5. So and 7 before that. Like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about 12 years ago. So I was scrolling Facebook and I seen you playing guitar and singing. And I was like, and I wrote on his post, I was like, oh, you're kind of good. And he wrote back going, oh, you're kind of cute. And I'm like, calm down, kid. Because like this guy.
Typical Beau comment.
Yeah. If you didn't know, he is 7 years younger than me. Yes. Yes. You cannot. I have Botox. I'm fresh as fuck all the time. So yeah, he was 7 years younger than me. And then we just sort of started talking. He was kind of funny. I liked her. He was kind of funny. I liked his craziness. And then, we had a call one day. It was so crazy. I was actually offshore on the oil rig at the time. And we talked on the phone for.
What prompted that phone call?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Probably just you and your persuasive ways.
Yeah, so I was living with my brother in Kuba because I remember the house and we spoke on the phone for almost 4 hours, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember where I was.
This guy can talk. I can talk. We can all talk.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. We're now dedicating a podcast to this. So, yeah. So then we started talking and then he came over and was like, just hanging out and never ever did anything like that. Never hooked up, never. There was nothing like that. No.
There was banter.
There was definitely banter. We always had banter.
I do like banter though.
Yeah. And, it even brings us like, Beau was very famous on Snapchat. And I remember we looked at this a while ago, a few years ago, we looked at the comments and he had sent me a message and I've still got the screenshot of this. And it said, hey, giving out free sex. Do you want to come over? And then I obviously didn't reply because I don't respond to that shit.
Lonely Beau sent that message probably to everyone and I probably got blocked.
Yeah. We'll talk about blocking soon because he's been on the block list for me, I reckon about 8 to 10 times. But anyway, back to this for 1 second. He had written on there, one day I'm going to get you and I'm not going to know what to do with you. Yeah,
because we had so much banter and it was always like, I wouldn't say you were a cock tease, but you liked the banter and it was funny, but you had, I know in my heart that there was no like, it wasn't banter enough.
For me, was nothing.
No, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that there was no, I wouldn't even say chemistry. It was just banter.
It was just banter,
it wasn't it wasn't anything like that. It was just jokes and funny and, even I never thought that would happen, really.
No one did, including us for many years. Like then, we even still sat there. It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I remember there was a few times you didn't give me enough attention and old Beau would blow up and do what he usually does when someone doesn't give him the attention that he needs and fires out.
I was literally at a festival once with my friends and he just like was going off like, you know, fuck you, slut this, you've done this, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, like, you know, who the fuck is this guy to say this stuff? And it was just like word after word after word after word. And it's quite crazy because like, you know, he obviously got blocked after that. So I have blocked Beau. I reckon
which adds to the abandonment issues.
It adds to the abandonment, but I reckon I've blocked Beau maybe 8 to 10 times in my life.
On, 2 or 3, surely.
And to be honest, before we even got together, he had just come off about an 8-month block. So you know, it's
the thing is like just like on that, you know, like I said in my last podcast, I was an angry child chasing and seeking love and validation from the external. Found that through women, so I didn't love myself. I wasn't centered. So when I didn't get what I wanted, it made me angry. And when we talk about that, I literally said the other day that I logged on to a social media platform and someone had messaged me from ages ago and I scrolled up and we had a conversation, and the way I spoke to this person was like, I was like, fuck, it was like cringy, you know?
Yeah.
Not getting what I want, just like abusing them or being narcissistic and gaslighting and toxic. And I'm like, and this is why, like, when I work with men in our programs and they're going through like divorces or relationship issues or whatever, and they've got all this anger and all this fear and guilt and judgment and shame, and I'm like, bro, I get it. I get it more than anybody because I've been there and I know what it's like. And now when I look back on that shit, I see little Beau and I'm like, that's like your inner child screaming, you know, like a kid having a tantrum in the shops. They want something and they can't have it, so they fucking lose it. And we are literally our inner child. And when that emotion takes over, like the logical and the frontal brain, the ego decision-making brain switches off, and, you know, our cutthroat side comes through.
100%. And you know what, like, that takes us back sort of a little bit to like Snapchat days. You know, like, how did you get involved in Snapchat? Like, you know, like if you know Beau from his past, you know, he was heavily involved in Snapchat. You know, he used to put heaps of things up before OnlyFans was a thing. And you know what, it's quite funny because if OnlyFans had been a thing back then, it probably, you would never have got as much maybe dislike, you know, if OnlyFans was back then, because you were doing Snapchat, so you're almost like ahead of the game. Really, you should have brought out OnlyFans. Like,
well, this is something that we talk about, and I was actually on Snapchat before it was a thing.
Yeah,
I don't know how we found it. I got a couple mates, Dan and Corey, and we used to send each other really dumb videos. Like, I filmed myself all the way growing up. Like, I remember the first time my parents got a camera, I set it up, dressed up in my mum's clothes, like walking around, like acting. First time I ever got a camera phone, I used to film myself eating cereal in the morning. Like, I was born to be on camera. You know? And
100%.
For me, like, it's so funny because like we're on Snapchat and nobody knew about it. And it was like this platform where you could do whatever the fuck you wanted.
Yeah.
And I know that Facebook and Instagram and stuff, like everyone, you kind of feel the eyes on you, where Snapchat you felt like
you could kind of do what you wanted.
And you didn't know who was watching and you didn't care. But back then only your friends could see your stuff. It wasn't like discovery and like put out to the world with like reels and shit. So there was no getting famous. So to build it was like building an email list, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I built Snapchat by networking. Everywhere I went, I was like, add me. When they added your phone numbers, I've had my phone from fucking like literally the same number. I've got the same phone number from when I was like a child.
How
like
crazy
first
is
phone, yeah. And I love that number because it's got all the threes in it. And every time I give my number out, I get a comment on it. So I remember when they did that, so I just added all the phone numbers. So like aunties on there, my fucking stepbrother, like all these people if I've ever met in my life, I got an invite for Beau's Snapchat. And like we used to get naked on there. I used to put videos of me having a shit on there. Like it was this, we're young, we're stupid, you know, and like then stories came out. So you know, and then you could put this thing on your story and then you could see who was watching it and you're screenshotting and whatever. And then
so on that screenshotting for a second, like I remember when I got Snapchat and I took a naked selfie of me and sent it to someone. And because I was like, cool, like you send it, it goes like after like a few seconds or whatever it is.
That's why the platform felt safe, right?
Yes, that's why the platform. And then I had this little thing go, ding, ding, screenshot. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like messaging my friend. I'm like, oi, what's this? And he's like, oh, that guy's taken a screenshot. I'm like, what the fuck? Like now, like I was like, here was this platform that I thought was kind of safe that I could just, send a selfie to a naked selfie to someone and it's going to be safe. I was okay. And then that happened and I was like, that was when I was like, I'm never fucking using this platform for that.
Yeah, and like screenshotting and shit was like new then too. Then the platform started being able to pick that up and send it to the user to say, hey, someone has screenshotted this, which is crazy technology.
Yeah.
But just on that, let's talk about when actually the story comes to mind when you were on the rig running how many rigs and your naked profile photos, a folder of photos went up onto a system, right?
Oh,
yeah, and this is a curveball for you, isn't it?
Yeah, so
because we weren't going to talk about it.
That wasn't just like fucking my naked photos, like this. So this is so. All right, let me tell you what happened here. That
only share what you want to share.
Yeah, no. So what actually happened was, I was running a whole lot of offshore rigs, and doing all the health and wellness, and we were using, I think it was like MyFitnessPal, or no, it was not MyFitnessPal. It was another fitness app we were using on the rigs. And so we set up all these iPads, and I just thought, you know what? I'll just use my Apple ID to connect, to download on this, and then the company won't get charged. And I just thought I was doing a really good thing and fast, because to go through our company, it just takes so long.
Apple's like the security.
Yeah, exactly right. And I'll never forget, I was actually at my son's basketball game in Perth. Now, all of my rigs are in the middle of the ocean, all over Australia. And someone sends me a message who actually was a person I knew. There was a manager there. And he goes, he used to call me this, Waddingham, all of your photos have uploaded to the gym iPad. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? And I'm actually at my son's final basketball game. I'll never forget this. I'm trying to contact Apple, iTunes, like who can shut down these iPads, close down my thing right now. Like, how am I going to be able to get this off? I'm trying to watch my son's basketball game. He's getting upset with me because I'm like, it's his graduation. This is like his last one. And I'm trying to be in and out of the basketball game and do this. It was so hectic. And he was like, oh my God, whose dick is this? It was the size of like a fucking Rexona can. Not going to say who it is. And
Jesus Christ.
Wait, Beau's like, fuck, clearly not me. And then he and I was like, oh my God. I was like, fucking delete all those things now. And he's going through. I said, stop scrolling, like stop scrolling in there. And and then I had to go and tell my boss.
Some nudes of you in there?
There was probably a few nudes. Like, I like to take progress photos of like fitness stuff and stuff like that, but nothing really explicit. Like, I wasn't really like that at all. More like a selfie to the side.
But you've always been about body love and
like the curvation of my abs.
Even like I always say, there's girls out there that seek attention and there's other girls, and I always knew like you for putting up photos in the G-string, even topless, but the sort of angles and the photos that you're taking,
it's always about definition. It was always about like
definition,
showing a bit of definition, but
and
also
it was always
showing
progress photos.
Yeah, progress photos, and showing like I was proud of myself for what I achieved in the gym and stuff like that. But yeah, so
what you should be allowed to love your body, and it's your social media. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
100%. And so that's what happened. So I had to go and have a big talk to my big boss and say.
So how did you get it off? Like, what happened there?
I ended up talking to Apple, and Apple was able to shut down my the Apple password and stuff like that. And
do you reckon the guys like all pass that around on the rig and check?
No, I got stopped at my manager. But the thing is that,
and he was a good guy.
It wasn't meant to. What happened was, when Wi-Fi got connected to the rig is when everything uploaded. Beforehand, I could just download the program because it didn't need Wi-Fi.
No internet.
Yes. And so what happened was, when Wi-Fi got connected, and it's because I think that they connected the Wi-Fi so they could play music on this iPad in the gym, that is when everything. And so then I had to like get in contact with and I was like, so what I actually did, I talked to my boss and I said, I need to recall all the iPads, all the other iPads. So we had Apple doing their thing, but I had to recall the iPads to get everything off. I didn't want to tell any other managers on the sites what had happened because, curiosity.
Oh, of course. I'm sure there's a few guys who'll be like, oh, yeah, we'll check that out.
So I was like, okay, recalling all the iPads, placing them back.
Did you get in trouble, or was it like they felt sorry for you? No. Like they knew it was an honest mistake?
It was my boss, and he was like, I still really good friends with him today, and he just kind of like was like, he should have seen his look on his face. He's like, no fucking way.
You know, like guys will sit there and be like, oh, if naked photos got leaked or whatever. But when you're directly involved, you probably would feel a little bit of like, fuck, he probably felt a bit of anxiety for you, you know? Like,
100%.
Even though it's like you can look back and eventually one day laugh at things that happen.
Now, but like at that moment, it's like it's humiliating. Like I was
at your basketball game with your son.
Yeah,
like,
and also I'm a woman in a man's world, right? Yeah. So I'm in oil and gas. I'm in the corporate office, which was, you know, in the position I was in, I was with area managers, which were all men. But also, so you already have that stigma.
You don't know like what, you know, there could be screenshots of conversations from
100%
things that could fuck up someone's life in that company, or there could be
just personal information.
There could be
that
photos of other people that weren't supposed to be on there. So it's not even just about yourself. It's what you could be. Doing other things.
I mean, for me, not personally, because I didn't really have.
I know you're not like that,
but you know what? Like, yeah, I do definitely know what you're saying.
There
but
are other things,
there was definitely other things. Like there was like I said, the guy with the Rexona can, you know, like so
giant
penises. And so that was an interesting time. But you know, Snapchat, going back to that, was just like I really. Like when I got that screenshot, like took a screenshot, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you know, I thought this was the thing, you know. So with your Snapchat and stuff like that, like obviously, like, you know, me personally, I've known Beau for, you know, 7 years prior to us being together, and I've seen Beau have sex with other people, you know, and I think that's really surprising for a lot of people.
Together,
Way before we got together, I've seen him with other girls. I had seen his dick multiple times.
Well,
majority of people have seen Beau's dick multiple times.
My
you know,
dick's
like
everywhere.
It's been
There's
around.
There's definitely videos out there that we were talking about today that will probably come up. So. Well, like exactly, like I remember me and my mates coming around to your house and you like hooking up with guys, and like we're just friends, and
100%.
And I remember it's so crazy because like you guys were like hooking up at the table and then went into the room after like, you know, we had all, and we obviously knew he was having sex, and like back then I didn't care, and then when we got together, like, you know, obviously
it was a little bit triggering for you.
It was a little bit triggering because I was like, and I lived in that house because you owned that house, and we used to have like parties or gatherings, and I used to come around and you'd be hooking up with somebody, or like, you know, and even like you're a very close to heart sort of lady, and you know, being in a relationship with you as well, you'd have a gathering and your exes would be there.
Yeah.
Because you stay friends with them, and I'm like, I wasn't used to this shit. Like for me, an ex is like fucking that's your ex, like blah blah, and you introduced me into like this is how adults act and not kids, you know, and that was like a big thing for me because I'm like, well, my ego is like, this guy's fucked you and he's in our home where I live, and then you're like, so you've had sex, I've watched you have sex, sex is sex, and I'm like, sex was like this massive thing to me. Like even now, like I'm a person who makes sexual jokes all the time, probably sometimes inappropriate, but for me, that's how I fucking deal with things, and
it's also your banter. It's your love language a little bit as well.
And I like it. Like, you know, there should be no, like, I think sex is fucking, you know, and I always say sex is the reason every single person is here. Our parents fucked.
Yeah.
Two people fucked, created life. What an amazing thing. Society, 100%. And I always say this is very fucking important, but I say this in my online program all the time, you know, and I don't want to go too deep into this because we're going to go back to that. But, you know, religion deems sex like this bad thing, you know, and you can't have it before this time. And especially around women, it's really like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, society, if women has too much sex or if people are fucking, it's like there's bad people.
Well, women, like, you know, I think women mainly, like, you know, like
disgusting.
you're a slut,
and I'm like,
but yet the guy in society can do the same sort of thing and then not be deemed as like, you know, the same level. And, you know, I even like, you know, my son, my 19-year-old has a little bit of a view about that at the moment. And it's crazy because for me, like, you know, I've had friends, you know, that were prostitutes. I have friends that are strippers.
So do I.
You know, friends that are on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
You know what? And
most of our friends,
you know, like we've got a lot of people on OnlyFans. And for me, I'm like, when I see a girl no matter what you're doing in life, if they're on OnlyFans and they're killing it, I'm like, fuck yes. That's
I love
amazing.
it.
Like, I love it. I'm like, that person, like, people think that you can just
like,
jump on OnlyFans.
I wish someone would pay me to that much money. Like,
100%.
We've had clients of ours who have done OnlyFans and they're making like, you know,
Killing
hundreds of thousands of dollars
hundreds of
a month.
thousands of dollars a month.
And I'm like, it's and they're doing it, and I'm like, they're having fun with it. They're
100%.
loving it. And then they've got managers and they're doing it all correctly. They're promoting it right. Like,
yeah, I just think, you know, for me, like even going back to like the parties, you know, used to having my exes and stuff there, I'm a person that when I'm done, but I can still be friends with you, you know, unless I mean, there's obviously a couple exes, like if you've heard, you know, other podcasts or know my story, there's a couple of exes that I have obviously nothing to do with, but in general, like I love people and I'm not an insecure person.
But even people you've hooked up with as well, like, you know, one thing with my ex, like every guy was like, have you kissed him? Have you hooked up with him? And it was like this fire in my belly of like jealousy and insecurity. And like with you, like it was so weird. Like I told you when we got together, going back to, because this is about how we met, I said to you I was crazy. I said I'm fucking jealous, I'm insecure, I'm a gaslighter, I'm narcissistic. And then because you were so nice and because you were actually pure to me, I said, I'm gonna fucking, you know, I'm gonna fuck our friendship, blah blah. Yeah. And you said, I don't think you really are like that. I think you were pushed to be like that and hung out with the wrong people. And I'm hanging out with guys that treat women like shit and like whatever, and you know, blah blah blah. And then I'm doing it myself, and then I'm like got this ego around like how it should be, and it's like sort of like, you know, a lot of women in, you know, other cultures and that we've worked with, it's like they get treated horribly. And like going back to what I said, like women get fucking made to feel like shit around sex and feeling sexy, or, you know, wanting to take a naked photo or wear lingerie or go to an adult shop or something like that. It's like society deems it like slutty and blah, 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 like I said. And
I think also like men demoralize women.
Men put women down. Because of their own shit. And that used to be me.
Exactly.
I fucking hated women. I can say that openly now. Women to me were like, you know, they're fucked. Like we had a conversation with a family member the other day and he was like, fucking all women these days are sluts and blah, 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 and this and that. And I'm like, you know what? Like you spend the first few years of your life having sex and trying to fucking work out who you are and what you like, and then you get told you're wrong for doing it. Yeah. So men putting women down is like massive, and I used to do it. And I still have that old me come up sometimes, and then I have to step back and drop my ego and be like, no, that's they're fucking allowed to do that. They're on their own journey. They're working out life. That's fine. And then, you know, the worst thing that I see is at the end of that scale, so you got religion and society constantly judging women, and then everyone follows like sheep. Men putting women down because of their own insecurities, jealousies, and whatever, but women putting down other women because of their fucking shit. And I'm like now, like
it blows my mind.
You know, the old me would jump on banner and be like, yeah, fucking, like when people are talking shit about other people. But since moving to Bali, I'm like, if you know me now, if someone's running someone else down, if someone comes out of their way to say, hey, stay away from that person, I'm like, this shows me more about who 100%. You are. And then later on, you find out that person was the drama or whatever. Look, sometimes some people are a little bit toxic or whatever, but they're just going through their life. But
do you know what? My thing is also this: like, no one was born toxic. No one was born with insecurities.
We're all pure. We're not racist. We're happy. We're loving.
I look at Harvey, and he's just doing life. And like, if he doesn't want to do something, he
loves everyone.
He loves everyone. He's got no fear. Like, if you see my son, he goes surfing. He jumps off, jumping board things that you know his dad takes him on, not mum, and does all the crazy things. I mean, he would have gone on the Blade roller coaster the other day if he could have, but he couldn't.
Oh man, he
went flying in that skydiving.
That's why we need trauma, because
trauma keeps us safe.
Helps us grow too.
To an extent.
Because at the moment, Harvey has no resilience. So when something bad will happen,
he doesn't know. Like
he doesn't
got
know
no
bad.
fear because he's had nothing bad happen to him yet.
That's
which is what that's for.
Exactly.
But you know, like going back to like, you know, girls and stuff like that, you know, like at the end of the day,
say this.
Yeah.
What you're about to go into is like, if a woman says to another woman she's fat or she's fucking a slut or whatever, my instant thing is you're insecure. You're jealous, and I know people are, oh no, jealous,
yes,
fucking this and that. But it's seriously, you're holding a mirror up And I can tell you right now, like we said the other day, there's no really pretty, successful, happy, intent, grounded woman that looks at any other woman and says bad things. They'll say something like, "Oh, she's struggling, or she's damaged, or she's not looking after her weight because
she needs help.
She needs help. She needs to be loved, or whatever."
My thing has always been like, okay, I've always been known for this. Like, I'll go to someone and be like, "Hey, what's going on with you? Do you need something? Do you need help?"
Well, your old thing used to be killing with kindness, but usually, like, and I find this in hostage situations, like when someone's out there with a gun holding someone hostage, they're going to jump off a cliff. Like, those people just need to be loved, and that's like, you see these things on the news, and I've always said this, and this will probably be a little bit triggering for people, but you see someone who's killed their family or fucking done something, and yes, mental health and stuff like that, but people get pushed to a point where, and I don't condone these things that people do to hurt other humans, and I've hurt other humans, and you have, and we're all here learning and trying to get through life, but most people just need a hug and need to be understood and loved. And when you sit down someone, and this is what we teach in relationships, if a woman is coming at a man like, "You this and you that and you that," and then the man explodes, and then he's fucking now the
asshole is
the asshole and the piece of shit, and then he flips out and punches a window or does a skid in the car or whatever. Now he lives with guilt and shame, and now the woman's got something on him to say like, "Hey, you're fucking,
you did this, you
did this, you did that."
But we don't look at all the other elements that got that person.
We always say this, right? When a man explodes, or a woman, or fucking anyone loses their shit at work, everyone's like, "Oh, you fucking angry this, and you're a fucking piece of shit."
They took.
No one stops and goes like, "Hey, what's going on at home?" And it's exactly like the kids that go to school and shoot up schools and shit, 100%. Right? No one's like, "What a freak," or "What a loser." Like, how much bullying did he go through? What's he going through at home, right? Where's his support and stuff at home? So I feel like there's not enough understanding in the world. People are so quick to judge on someone's behavior and be like, "Oh, he's this or she's that." And I'm like, look at someone and just hold a mirror up and look at yourself, and then before you judge other people, and like why you got this judgment. And you can still have the judgment come through, because we do it. I do it. I look at someone.
Everybody judges.
Yeah, I do it, and I go, that's not.
Yeah, that's internal.
That's internal. Yeah. And I do, and I still, even the other day, we had an argument, and I said something, and I go, that was internal. Yeah. I literally say it out loud, and you're like, "You're right," and I'm like, "Nah, that's not directed at you or the TV show I'm watching or whatever." I'm like, "Fuck, that's coming from the fire inside," right?
100%. So let's go back to like, all right, so we went through all these things, and then you and me, we started a relationship, and let's talk about when we were first in a relationship,
first month,
and some of the things that came up. So you got to realize also here is that Beau does have a past. And I used to have a lot of people say to me, like, "How can you be with someone that has a past like that?" And for me personally, I actually love the fact that he had a past. And the reason for that is because in my mind, if you've got a past and you're in your 30s, you're less likely to go out and cheat. You're less likely to go and seek to go and do these crazy adventures and stuff like that, because you've already done so much stuff. Now, the thing is also with me and Beau, we're both very sexual. We're both very open to a lot of things.
And we can explore things together.
We can open and explore things together. And anyone who knows me really, like, knows what little things that I'm into. Same thing with, Beau's into stuff as well. And that's totally fine.
I worked in adult shops for like 2 years. So I've always said, like, sex is sort of like, the work we do. You got to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and people will come in and be like, "Oh, have you tried anal?" And they're like, No. I'm like, "Okay."
You're like, "Oh, that's disgusting." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
mate,
and I'm like, "Okay."
You're missing out on something.
When a girl says she doesn't like anal, it usually means that she's had a really selfish guy to shove it in. I mean, like, when you do the foreplay, when you do everything right, and then you're like, you start to explore things that you like.
When you feel safe, I think when you're with a partner, especially, like, you have to have a good foundation with your partner, and you also have to have a good foundation. You got to feel safe. And, you got to have open communication, because there's been times where, like, we've gone to do things and I'm like, "Hey, I'm just not feeling that."
I love that you bring this up. You got to be on the same level.
You got to be on the same level. You definitely do.
And I want to just say something on that. And I know this is going to go forward and come back, but it's really important that you said that, because I think we'll do a whole podcast on relationships and ours, and nut out everything that works and doesn't work for us. But working in the adult shop, obviously, I seen around a lot of swingers, seen a lot of people do different things. I got a lot of mates that swing and do things openly. The thing is, I think everyone has that inside of them, but obviously everyone doesn't share it, especially people like that are up here. They like try and keep it all secret, right?
I think also, again, it comes down to so much shame. Like when
shame
when you actually have a partner, or like you can do things and explore, there's a whole nother world out there, and it's fun and it feels good, and it doesn't be like, recently me and Beau went to Flame. Flame is in Bali, and I loved it. It was sensual. It wasn't,
it wasn't sleazy.
It wasn't sleazy. It wasn't anything like that. It was sensual. It was nice, and I think these things, like, it was beautiful. And we actually just went out for dumplings, and we're at dumplings like, hey, should we go to Flame? We
actually spoke about going to this place for a while.
Yeah, and then we just was like, had a couple of drinks. We were feeling good. It's like,
hey, tell people what happened.
Hey, should we go to Flame? What happened? Go.
So Flame Spa is shout out to Flame Spa.
Yeah,
they're not a sponsor. It's like you can go in with a couple, and it's like they're not prostitutes. It's just like a massage.
It's a massage, a sensual massage, naked massage.
Yeah, you're naked, and you can like get some touch in places if you want, but there's like rules and stuff like that. So they get naked, you get naked. It's like a body slide.
Yeah, body slide
they
massage.
Do a body slide. Then they ask you.
The room's all warm. There's like lots and lots of oil.
There's like a massive bed with like
flowers,
a waterproof.
There's music. Really
there's
music.
like a bar full of flowers,
and
they bring you drinks, and like they talk to you, and it's like really like a really nice sensual experience that I think a lot of couples should explore. And like we said the other day, you have to be on the same level. Like if we're out having a drink and I'm like, let's go Flame Spa, let's go fucking both get a body slide and have a naked bath and have these two massagers, massage us, and like you can have sex in the room, which is what we did. And they can warm you up, they will leave, or they'll stay and massage you while you have sex and stuff like that. So but there's levels. Like you tell them before what you're comfortable with and what you're not. So that's what's really awesome about it. So there's boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Which is boundary setting people have problems with, which causes
and it's
issue.
crazy on this, like, anyone who knows me, I'm a very dominant, very strong human. I very much know exactly what I want in life
and business.
In life and business. But when it comes to sex, I'm completely submissive. And I think, as the one time in my life where I'd like to be completely submissive, I want to have no control. And I want someone else to completely take control. And I think that comes down to the fact that I am always in control. I'm always making decisions. I'm always actively out there, like, creating new shit. And, when it comes to this, like, I don't want to make any decisions. I want to be told what to do, how to do it, all the things. And that's what, I like.
And I think a lot of women will resonate with that.
I think a lot of people that are in my position as well, in any kind of
it's the healthy feminine masculine sort of
I completely
dance.
feel feminine in that role, and that's what I think.
And you're so masculine in everyday life.
And I'm so masculine in and it's definitely something that I'm trying to work on. But going back to, like, when me and Beau first started, our first month in our relationship, he started to bring in his shitty behavior from.
Can I just talk on the sex stuff before we go back to that conversation?
Yep.
I was going to say before we exit that is that with the boundary settings and with us, and because a lot of people that are listening are like, hey, go back to the juicy shit. We had to be on the same level to go and do that. We'd spoken about that for a long time. And like you said, we're just out having dumplings and a wine. And Kirstie said, tonight's the night. And I actually got
he actually got nervous.
I got nervous because I was like, I didn't push it, but I was like, I'm keen for it when you are. Like, I'm open. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care about dicks, vagina, boobs. I've seen so many naked people in my time. I've done a lot of sex stuff. I'm just like, to me, I'm like, sex is sex. I love talking about sex. And with you, I didn't want to push anything or make you feel uncomfortable, whatever. And I knew that you'd done a lot of shit in your past too, but we're two people who don't want to cause any like jealousy and insecurity. And I think we need to go deep on this because a lot of people are like, me and my partner have been talking about, and we get that with a lot of clients. They're like, we want to do this, this and this, but there's got to be a safe way to do it. And I've had, in the adult shop, I've heard that many stories when I was in there, is how somebody crossed a line.
Yeah.
So, and
what? It can be a fine line.
It can be very fine. And once you do that, it could be you kissing the girl. It could be you looking at the girl's eyes. Imagine through the threesome that you decide to have, all your attention is there and you're drunk and like.
Yeah.
I actually had a mate who had a threesome with a friend, which is like, I feel like you should never do that. But if you're that out there, then whatever. And the guy fell asleep, and in the morning, they got up for coffee and he like was fucking her in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then he come out like, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, we're, you know, and he's like, what the fuck, man? Like he's woken up sober.
Yeah.
You know, they've woken up
It's
and your
over.
mate's fucking you.
You
and
can't
like,
cross that line, you know, like, and we've had situations in our life that has been crossed a little bit as well. And the thing is that there's definitely, you know, you got to understand your boundaries. Like, for me, I'm not an insecure or jealous person. Never have been. End of the day, if you don't want to be with me, cool. I'm never going to worry about if someone's going to cheat on me. If you're going to cheat on me, see you later.
But you still like to be number one.
100%. But what I mean
like
is,
to be felt
in that relationship, if I don't feel number one, I'm not staying in the relationship.
But you also, what I've noticed about you, and we spoke about this the other night, you love your partners to be happy and pleasurable. So you would go out of your way to fulfill my fantasies, which you asked the other day.
100%,
like, what?
but I would still feel only if I felt comfortable. And I feel like
of course.
there has
but
to
I'm
be,
saying,
you know, with that, there has to be a strong foundation.
Of course, but I'm saying that you would be happy to let your partner explore things that he really wanted to, not because you didn't want him to go with someone else. A lot of people in relationships would go, all right, I've got to give my man a threesome, otherwise he's going to leave me.
Yeah, no,
do you know what I mean?
You're doing it for the wrong reasons.
You're doing it for the wrong reasons, not insecurity. But you would want to do it because A, you enjoy it.
I enjoy it,
but B, you want to see me getting off and happy.
And do your thing, yeah.
And what I find with these couples that try and open up the gates to different things, and we've got a lot of friends that do this sort of stuff, and you see issues come in, you know. They get jealous from other women or other men, and then like all these things, and then that's when you got to bring your relationship back and do a little more groundwork. And you've also got to be on the same level. Like one guy wants fucking his missus to get ravaged by like 10 men, and the other chick just wants to have like a naked massage. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you got to be on the same.
I'm not the 10 men person.
Just
to clarify.
I know. I'm pretty sure. Oh, are you?
Do you want to attract more money into your life? Then this is for you. Are you ready to fuck off procrastination? Then this is for you. You need more sales in your business? This is for you. Do you want to feel more successful and confident? Then this is for you.
Hey, I'm Beau.
Hey, I'm Kirstie Waddingham.
And welcome to Believe in Your Breath,
where we breathe success. If you want to work with us further, you want to join We Breathe Success. It is designed to take you from where you are now to where you want to be in 12 months or less.
If you're ready to 10x your life and step into the ultimate version of yourself that you know you can be, then this program's for you. Your transformation awaits. So, you know, and what I'm saying is like everyone has different boundaries. So I've got mates who said that they can do whatever they want. They just don't want to know about it. Some people have to choose the person.
100%.
Some people, but I always say like start things off slow, like get a naked massage. Don't do anything else.
And do the things like, you know, for me, Flame was a really beautiful place because it was so sensual. Like it was
it was really modern.
Beautiful. It was modern. We had a cocktail. They gave you got a free cocktail before you went in there.
It was like going into like a real modern, professional, fancy massage place.
High class.
Yeah, the lighting, the flowers, like it was really nice.
And you know, going back on there, like
and they're all about you. They made you feel really comfortable.
That's exactly right. And you know, when I made that decision to call Let's Go to Flame, I was feeling good and. You know, Beau was getting nervous. Beau was
like, should we go home? It's pretty late.
And then
hubby's with a babysitter.
Yeah, and then there was all this stuff, and
that's what happened when we first.
And then he tried to he was like, oh, you know, we don't really need to do this, Bob. And I was like, no, we're doing this. And I also find that when Beau has a decision, he's okay. But if I then say it,
I don't feel like I'm in control anymore.
He doesn't feel like he's in control. So it goes back to when we first hooked up. So when we first actually hooked up. It was crazy, all right? So this is, I wouldn't.
Still blows my mind.
Yeah. So he came to my house, absolutely broken.
I hung out for a whole weekend.
Yeah.
He laughed like.
Hang on, you're skipping steps, all right? He loves to like bring himself into that. No. So he came into my room and I was coming out of my room and then we kind of like had a kiss and I was like, just so you know, I'm not having sex with you. And then in his mind, he was like, bro, like, I can't even believe I'm kissing you. Like, what the fuck is going on? And neither could I. And I just come out of also a very, very toxic 18-month breakup. Yeah. So the breakup was actually longer than the relationship. It was the worst breakup of my life. He finally went to jail. And when he went to jail, I got a little bit of my life back and I started to feel a little bit safe and I started to, for the first time in nearly 18 months, I started having like a few drinks and I had friends over and I was starting to feel good. And, you know, and then Beau, you know, came into my life, you know, and that's a whole nother story how that even happened. You know, why he was over that night was actually to do with a friend of
Some
mine
things we can't talk about.
A friend of mine at the time wanted to piss some people off and be on his Snapchat. That was over. And I was like, I'm not fucking doing this. I'm not a part of this shit.
Beau won't leave.
I don't like stuff like this. And I said, Beau won't leave if I let him come over. And he'd just come off a block. And and then literally that's what happened. Beau didn't leave. So he came, still here. And then he came over, like we had a little bit of kissing. And then, you know, I was like, I'm not having sex with you.
Well, can we just say we were hanging out with a bunch of friends all weekend though before this happened?
No, we were not.
Oh, okay. That was the first night.
Yes. Let me tell the story.
Oh, okay.
See, I've got the talking stick. So then we like hung out after that for the weekend, and we went out for dinners and stuff like that. And I made him take me out for dinner. And it was so funny. Like I was like, no. And then I still was like, I don't know, you know, because I was kind of seeing someone at the time, even though I knew that person was not being faithful to me. I'm a loyal person, regardless of anybody else. I am like that. So then we ended up, we'd had a few drinks this other night. It was about a week later. And we were at my friend's house. And then I was just like, all right, well, we're having sex tonight. And he was terrified. Oh. And it goes back to that Snapchat message. One day I'm going to get you and I'm not going to know what to do with you.
We didn't know about this message till like ages
later.
And that's what actually happened. I didn't know what to do. I was like, okay. Like,
we literally, so we got home and this is me. I'm like, all right, get into my bed. I just got naked. I'm like, all right, cool. Show me what you got. Like I was cocky as fuck because this guy, we'd had banter for years. Like there was banter for years for this. And he's kind of like, do you want to make a cup of tea? Like, you know, like I think the lights are on in my car. Like,
I was speeding around. I was standing at the doorway for ages.
And you're
like, get in the bed and you fuck all these chicks. I've seen you fuck on Snapchat.
Yeah, come on. Do your best. Because I was like, do your best.
Wake up, mate. Yeah, fucking.
You're on. Oh, it's game on. And he's like, fuck, I'm going to have to perform tonight. And then, then I'll just say for me, the sex was amazing. I was actually insane because like there'd been all this banter. The way that we had kissed that first time, I remember in my mind going, holy shit, this guy.
I love kissing though. Like
this guy was passionate. It was connection. It was love. It made me feel something.
I've always said that to me is love. Like that to me is connecting with another human on another level. Like sex has never been just fucking for me. I feel like I'm swapping souls with people. You know?
And you actually are on an energetic level. We could go into that forever, but that's also actually what you're doing. You're actually swapping souls, like it's energetics.
And then add the fucking the kinky and dirty side of me.
Yeah.
It's like,
so there was all of that, and he was kind of playing out. He was kind of playing out fantasies in the first night that I had never talked about that, you know, just worked. And anyway, so I loved it and I was like, okay, cool. But in my mind was like, this is Beau Drury, this can't happen. If you know us for, he's in one world, I'm in one world.
Yeah.
And you know, like to the point that back in his old world, just skipping for a second, he used to always say holy Rick. People know him from saying this word holy Rick. Anyway, he'd been at my house. This is like a few years prior, and he left his watch there. And I did this little video and I put his watch on. I was like, oh my God, that Beau Drury guy left his watch in my house. Holy Rick. Anyway, I sent him this video and he put it on his Snapchat. And I had mates.
You couldn't see anything though. You were
no. Yeah. You couldn't see anything. But I had mates message me and be like, oh, you know, you dirty girl, blah, blah, you've been with Beau. And I was like, get that fucking off your Snapchat now. It was just banter. It was just banter, yeah. But, you know, you did have a reputation, you know, and I didn't want to be part of that. You know, I didn't want to be associated with that, you know, and that was, you know, obviously years ago.
You actually, I'll tell you one thing about me. You actually saw through all the bullshit and you liked me for who
I was underneath. I liked Beau,
and
not showcase Beau.
And that's why I feel like after we got together, you really nurtured me coming to the man I am now.
Because I think the little Beau in you, the Beau that not many people really got to see back then.
Well, I feel like my whole life I've just been on show, like an actor, you know,
and trying to be something or find attention. And it's always been you have always been a big attention game. You know,
well,
that's
your
whole life is about
class
attention.
clown and all that sort of shit. And that's why, like, when I see these people with big personalities, whether they're girls or guys, and I'm like, usually people who are really center and really authentic are like here. You know what I mean? And that's why when you see these people that are like outgoing and crazy and the life of the party and happy, like they're trying to overcompensate for the down. And that's why I always say you need to check on those friends, the ones that are fully created, because what comes up does come down.
100%. And that goes back to you for a little bit because...
And I was actually really insecure and really unhappy.
Unhappy, but you also were riddled with anxiety.
And
the most
you
crazy...
you wouldn't guess it, would you?
No, and the most crazy thing for me is that, still today, Beau will do things that will create situations which will be... anxiety will come on, and so going back to your Snapchat days when you did used to have sex on Snapchat. Like I've been sent multiple videos from you. I've seen him have sex with many people, and so many people used to say to me like, how can you be with someone like that? Like you've seen this, blah, blah. But it didn't bother me. I see people for who they are, and I also everybody has a past, and I remember this one guy one time said to me, who I had so many people say, don't hang out with him, don't talk to him, like all this kind of stuff. And I told him what they'd been like, what people had been saying, and he said to me, so can I ask you like why are you still here? And I said, because I take people for who they are, not for what other people say. And I've always been like that. I have never ever listened to someone else's opinion about someone. I've always
and I'm learning
for who
that
they
for
are.
Myself now.
I don't. Everyone has an opinion on everyone. Not everybody likes me. Not everybody likes you, and that's so fucking okay. But when you are okay with you, it doesn't affect you. You're living center. Like I'm okay with people not liking me now. Beforehand, I needed the world to fucking like me. And if they didn't like me, why don't you like me? I've done good shit. Whereas you would actually do things to purposely like get the attention, but then you hated the attention. And you know what? Here's a perfect example. You get big attention. We go out, we go to Crown Casino in Perth, and people will come up to you and be like, oh my God, like you're amazing, you've changed my life. And it's awkward for you. You actually find real life Beau is actually very quiet. Real life Beau is actually quite centered. Real life Beau is actually very family orientated, like the most amazing. You're so family,
I find that being like controversy and like having the adult shops and all my mates are strippers and OnlyFans. That's not now, but back then, I should say. We still have friends that are in the adult industry. We don't care. But like, for me, it was like just this persona, like of like attention and like, I feel like.
But then hating it.
Yeah, but I know. But I said the other day that I actually enjoyed being the villain sometimes because when you're hanging out with scumbags and you do scumbag shit and you're drinking and you're partying and you're having sex and people are using drugs and everyone's a scumbag. It's like, fuck, it's cool to be a scumbag. It's cool to be hated and like whatever and like, oh, well.
It's cool to break the rules and not give a fuck.
Yeah, I'm just a piece of shit and fucking I'll just keep being a piece of shit and like hating the world and really you hate yourself.
Yeah.
And you just, be this person full of ego and you want to fight people and you're full of hate and all that sort of shit. And then, for me, like, then going to into the world that I am now and like there's still a lot of people out here listening that or friends of people that will have bad shit to say about me, and some of them they'll be from like people I haven't seen in 10 years. And I always say this, I'm like, if you don't believe that other people can grow and change, then you don't believe that yourself can grow and change.
And they haven't changed.
And they're doing the same shit.
Anyone that is going out of the way to even like, comment bad shit or say bad shit or talk bad shit.
Some things I've heard are completely untrue and some things I'm like, I fucking did that. And I've done horrible things and I've fucking done bad shit to myself, to you, to my friends, to my family. I've done things out of integrity and I know that, and that's a part of my healing journey, and I need to take on accountability and responsibility for the things that I've done to hurt other people and myself along the way. And I always say to people, like, your healing is your responsibility. What happened to you isn't your fault. I've had things that have happened to me too. I've had really bad things happen to me. And, these are things I've had to work through and learn myself and heal myself. And now I
still heal.
I know, like I'll say right now, I know people out there dislike me and don't like me and hate me. And I know that sometimes in business, whether it's like, we've fallen out in business ways and whatever, and I've had to stand strong for my business. Not everyone's going to see eye to eye, and that's fine. But a lot of people will not like me for my past or their own shit. They're holding me up as a mirror and they're like, fuck you and whatever, jealousy, insecurity, or they just don't resonate with me. They don't like the way I do breath work. They don't like the way I stand on stage in front of a lot of people. They say, it's all ego and money and blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all. I've had religious people reach out to me and say that I'm doing the devil's work and that, fuck, man, I've had death threats. Like, we've got videos with 90 million views. Like, I've had all the sorts of messages. People come up from my past saying that, that I'm this bad person and whatever. And I've made mistakes. I have. I've fucked up. I've made mistakes in my relationship. I've made mistakes. You know, I went and done a breathwork thing. About, you know, whenever that was, and I went out to the mountains and I cried for fucking cathartically for 2 hours, and I never knew that was in me. And you know, and I'm like still trying to get things right. You know?
And that was over women. That was over women. Exactly. So you were literally grieving.
I fucking hated women once upon a time. I've been hurt by women time and time again.
Because you've been cheated on every relationship you were cheated on.
The first few girls that I got involved with, you know, I remember being in primary school liking a girl. She dated me. I was the happiest I've ever been. And then the next day she dumped me. I was fucking year 4, and the whole class was in on it. I felt humiliated. I threw a chair at it.
So they just did to laugh at you.
Like even that, I'm like, who throws a fucking chair?
But then who humiliates? You know, and
so
this is you know, that you had a whole class of people laughing at you because you were thought you were in this relationship, you know, in such a young age. And this is where
I think I craved love from females so early on. Like, you know, I was obsessed with girls in the class, and then, you know, and then high school, you know, I'm always trying to find a girlfriend and do this, and like then going into, you know, actually having sex, and then fucking feeling this, what I thought was love, and feeling void and with pain.
Yeah.
Sex was my drugs and my alcohol. Yeah. It was my pleasure seeking. So, and I always felt like this hole would never be filled. So I had to, you know, do more crazier shit, get toys, go to the adult shop, sex with multiple people at the same time, like do all the, and I chased it in a toxic, not a healthy way.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't have a great relationship, and I was young. So like, I didn't know, you know, where to go and hang out with people that did that healthily. Like I was like, have sex with me or you're a piece of shit, and you're not loving me and you're abandoning me just like everyone else. Fuck you.
Yeah.
So I would take it out on them. And like, it makes me emotional because I've hurt people along the way, and there's probably a lot of people out there that was like, Beau treated me like shit or talked to me like that.
And you're like, I did.
And I know for a fact that a lot of people that sit there and say that will say they had good times with me. We had fun. We went out there. Like, I was a rule breaker. I was like fucking crazy. I was like, let's go and do something insane. Like, you know, and that's not in the bedroom. That's just like, you know, even my guy mates would be like, Beau was always down for fucking good time.
Everyone loves the Beau at the party.
And then, but with this Beau, you get the other side of Beau. Like even my best friends who have known me for
your whole life.
My whole life will say, too much Beau is not good.
Yeah.
You know, and like or Beau can be this and can be that. And like I'm still working, man. I'm like 33. I've got a lot of work to do on myself, and I constantly show up for myself so I can show up for my people and my family.
But you know what? You had to go through all those things so then you can learn, educate, and give knowledge to other people.
Well,
and
I've helped a lot of men through their shit.
100%.
And even though I'll still say, you're not ever fully healed, you know, you're going to have more trauma. Like, we're going to go through shit.
Like, we've been on the podcast doing some things recently, and it has been triggering because
yesterday we were both like
I was in tears, and you know, like there's a lot of things, you know, and do you think you've got through certain layers, and then there's another layer?
I think for me, a lot of men listening get this because like we just want to be loved by our women, and we don't feel good enough.
Just want to be loved and heard,
and
feel
worthy enough. We surround ourselves by like, you know, toxic masculine and these strong men, and we try and be strong ourselves. And deep down, all these men, they've got that inner child that, you know, and it may sound weak or pansy or whatever, but it's true. Like there's a time and a place for a man to be strong. And I always say this at my events, there's a time and a place for a man to protect his family, provide for his family, but there's a time and a place where he needs to be fucking held and loved and supported by his woman.
100%.
And come home to and fed a meal and like kissed and fucking hugged and told he's enough and that he's done a good job, and regulated like with his nervous system. Because you see these men, right? They come home and they're fucking angry and they're out of control, drinking and fucking violence, and they're in and out of court, going to jail,
or the other way, depressed or
suicidal.
You know
what I mean?
There's two sides of this. Like the anger is one side, but with anger also comes depression.
Of course,
you know, like what goes up must come down. And like those men that are angry and lashing out,
they don't want to be like that.
They don't want to be like that. And I can guarantee you, then the guilt and the shame comes, and the depression,
and then everyone points fingers at them.
Then they get angry
they're the
again.
angry one.
Then they get angry again because they're showing vulnerability and blah blah, and they hate that. Like
so
feelings suck.
Yeah. So like one comment, and I get a lot about men at our events is we see men crying. Like we attract men with tats and beards and bigger guys, you know, and
any men.
Any men. But I'm saying like that stereotypical
guy, yeah.
You know, tough, doesn't cry, fucking hard cunt,
fuck
Australian, fuck the world, like I'm hard, you know, blah blah blah. I don't wear pink shirts. And then like, you know, when you see a man like that cry, it's different. It hits you different, you know. And
it's always for me, like, you know, and you know, most of the time, like I'll go up to them and be like, "You're allowed to cry.
Yeah,
you're allowed
and
to be heard."
Insane.
They've been seen, and then they just break down, you know. And then I wanted to just like, you know, tie into some other things right now because we're going to get off track a little bit. But you know, like this version of you when you came into the relationship with me was, for one, you softened. But for two, there was a lot of still old Beau playing.
And it does. And you will, and I'll tell you right now, like when I say, all right, that's center, or I felt my inner child, like when I get angry or when we fight, and I'm like, you don't love me, or fuck you, and I want to walk away. That's the little Beau inside of me, the abandonment issues, the rejection, the not feeling good enough, wanting to be loved, whatever. But yeah, going back to what I wanted to say on that for men is that we get that's weak. That's weak. You know, you're killing our men. Our men aren't strong anymore. But I'm like, a man that's out of control, drinking and drugs and not being emotionally available for his kids and hitting his wife and fucking out there violence and getting locked up and using drugs and alcohol to mask what he's going through, that's weak. A strong man, someone who can emotionally regulate himself, provide for his family, make his family feel safe, and you know what?
And give emotional support.
And give an emotional support to family and kids, and then bring up your kids to be that strong male as well. I think we get that strength mixed up. There's a lot of men here listening, probably that it triggers them. Good. That means you got work to do there. And it's okay. Like, you know,
I hate that word trigger. I hate that word trigger.
But it's true, right? Because like, when something does trigger you, it's because it's inside of you.
100%. But what I mean is, let me reframe why I hate the word trigger, is because people use that as bullshit excuse to not do shit on themselves. And I always say, if you're triggered, fucking awesome, you got work to do. Now you know.
Dive into the work.
Now you know you got work to do. But, you know, again, I want to just go back to when we were first together, you know, one of the things that, you know, when you came into the relationship, you sort of brought back old Beau. And I remember being on the rig, and I thought it would be funny to send you this video of my friend who was putting on a pair of pants. They were like, you know, size 14.
Her ass was out.
She was in a G-string. And I sent it to you and like not thinking anything of it because I'm so like oblivious to that kind of behavior. It's not a thing for me.
You thought I'd be like, that's funny.
Oh yeah, I thought it'd be funny. And you went fucking off at me.
Yeah.
You know, like you're like, you know, I don't know, you're a fucking slut. There's sluts on the fucking rig, blah, blah. And I was like, this is insanity. Like,
because that angry, insecure, like I'm thinking like, you know,
like
humiliation for me.
You must be doing something out there. Like,
because I've had girls in my life. That's the thing.
Well, go back to the school. You know, you're being humiliated. Yeah. So maybe, you know, offshore, like, you know, am I humiliated?
So this makes a lot of sense. I went to breathwork for the first time, right? I laid down on the floor. I forgave myself for everything, right? Because I purposely surrounded myself with women with daddy issues, you know, people who would love me, who would give me the sex and the love and the fun, like stuff. I couldn't go for a strong woman because she'd want to go on dates and she'd want me to put in the work and do all this stuff. So
she'd want you to level up.
She'd want me to level up. So I wanted to be who I was and didn't want to be told what to do. So I'd go and meet women on Tinder. I'd go and meet women on Plenty of Fish. I'd go to nightclubs to meet women, bikie clubhouses, right? I'm not going to business things or like private areas or nice areas or whatever, or church, right? So I look back and I hated women because of the way women treated me, but I surrounded myself with women that were bound to treat me like that. So I looked in the mirror and go, you've created all of this. Yeah. You've created the life that you fucking hate, and now you hate the world because you did all of that.
Yeah, it was your environment.
Yes, and I created that environment. So when this is like goosebump moment, but when you look at that and take a step back and go, holy fuck, I've been in control the whole time. But then you can be aware of why you were doing the things you were doing and tracking the things you were doing, then things start to change.
Yeah.
So that for me was massive. And I was like,
why do you think, you know, like, why do you think we work? You know, like when you went from your last
we do struggle with the toxic, not toxic. We do struggle with the masculine and feminine roles. I know that. We definitely do, especially when I like just jump back and sit in my feminine whenever you try and level up. But when you're really sick or whatever, I can't be a mum or my masculinity rises.
100%.
And I think we do this.
100%. But before then, I'm asking, why do you think that we work when you and your ex for 10 years were on and off, right?
Because you showed me unconditional love.
Yes.
And I felt safe and I felt actually loved and wanted, and it was like something different, and it was foreign at the start. It felt weird. Like I almost like just wanted the sex and then leave me alone. Like, you know.
But you didn't. And that's what I find with majority of people. You know, they'll say one thing and they'll do another.
At the time, I'm saying that's what I wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying that's what I needed or actually wanted.
Of course. And like, you know, even so when we were engaged, you know, I was triggered one day with, you know, you going out with my brother, which was like absolutely nothing. And this is like, you know, again, this is all things coming back from my past, you know, and I took my ring off and I gave it to you. Yeah. And I instantly had a regret for that, because I instantly went, that's actually not what you want. You want to feel loved right now, heard and seen.
So,
but instead, which I was still used to and still the default setting playing, for me, I always had to do something extreme. Like, fuck it, I'm out. You know, I'm always running.
Well, I believe that most people self-sabotage relationships because as soon as there's any sort of pain, they're like, I'm out. Yeah. It's like fight or flight mode. Your nervous system like
I've been hurt so many times.
Fight back or flee.
Yeah.
So run away and block and fucking turn off. Instead of actually communicating and dealing with the fucking problem, you want to actually fucking fight the person, go for their throat, because if you can hurt them, then they can't hurt you. Mm-hmm. So like we said with a lot of clients in our online program, they feel themselves going for their partner's throat. Like instead of going like,
hey, you're making me feel
this way. It's like, yeah, no wonder your mum didn't love you. No wonder your fucking ex cheated on you. Yeah. Like you throw poison at them because you want to kill them.
Yeah.
That's the tiger. Like we talk about primal, our nervous system primal. There's a tiger in front of us. We need to kill that tiger, even though it's not physically attacking us. Our emotions are saying it's real.
Yeah.
Kick, bite, scream, do whatever we can to kill that tiger so we survive. Well, our survival is we need to kill them. So kill them with words.
Yeah.
Fuck you fucking. And how often do we, when we're angry and in this fight or flight mode, say things we don't mean? And your personal words of affirmation, I can throw words around and then 10 minutes later be like, hey, do you want to talk? And you're like, how could you say that to me? Like, don't ever talk to me again. And I'm like, babe, I was angry. I was pissed off.
And for me, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck we were fighting about, but now those words are
you're
penetrated.
You're hurt.
They're penetrated in. I'm like, because I'm like, you can't, if you love someone, you don't speak like that, you know. And we've definitely had to work on that in our relationship as well. Like at the start of our relationship, it literally was, you know, you would throw word vomit at me. And one thing I do appreciate about us and our relationship is that we come to each other once we've calmed down and we talk about it, and it doesn't usually happen again.
Great communicators.
Great communication.
Everything goes on the table.
And then we go, all right, cool. I didn't like that. And you're like, okay, cool. And for me, I'm like,
we put each other's shoes on.
The words mean something to me, and then you've never done that really again. Like you're very cautious with your words now.
One of the biggest things I think I learned was that to walk away when I'm angry, because I'm going to say shit that's going to hurt you.
I know, and I find that so fucking hard.
But because I'm like, your abandonment issues like, he doesn't care. He
doesn't care. Like,
he's gone away.
And I think most women and men will agree with this. Like, if you've ever read Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, women are nurturers, right? Yeah. So they couldn't fathom leaving you when you're upset or blah, blah, blah. Guys, they need to return back to their cave and pull back.
But I appreciate I appreciate a man that goes, hey, I'm going to fucking break something or say something I don't mean or do some shitty behavior right now. I need to remove myself, take some breaths, do some deep breaths, run around the oval, run around the block, come back, and then go, all right, now I'm ready to talk. But now the woman's abandonment issues are going like, oh, you think you just walk off when, but it's also not fair on her, because if you just need to walk out every time you need it
100%.
And she's like, well, I need to talk now and you're walking away, then why should she put up with that as well? So there's got to be some sort of like, you know, thing where it's like, the woman has to respect.
Well, we have a code word now, orange.
Yeah, well, oranges means everything stops. We're not talking right now.
So we actually have a code word because like we've had things in our life as well.
I've blown up and, you know, smashed shit and doing whatever. And that this is all part of growth, and this is why we help people in our, because people come to us and I go, we're real people helping real people. We've been through what you go through. We're real fucking human beings. We're not these people who are perfect and shove amethyst crystals up our ass and fucking. Sometimes, yeah. But we're not perfect, and that's the thing. That's where fucking you go sit down in front of a psychotherapist or a psychologist, and that you're like, these people have this perfect life. They obviously haven't.
They aren't perfect,
but they act like they are.
And that's the thing. Like, you know, for us, we're never going to act. You know, like we've done things have been great.
I've made mistakes. I've fucked up.
You know, we're
going to talk about those.
You know,
I don't always get it right.
Yeah, and that's okay. And that's the reason why we've also, you know, this will be, I think we're going into our 6th year of relationship. Yeah. And the reason why it works is because we communicate.
But we're constantly growing together.
And we actually talk about how
if you stay the same and one person grows or whatever, we always go to breath work together. We start new business together. We sit down and we align. Your energy is like going to Flame Spa that night. We both were like, yeah, let's do it. And then, you know, when we want to start a new business, both there, we have come head to head. Remember when you wanted to change the color logos on Believe in Your Breath, and I was like, no fucking way, you're not coming here and bringing pink. And you're like, but most of your clientele is female.
And you wanted to do grounded colors and below the label.
And, and then we lost a lot of money.
Yeah,
so
you know, like
I've also watched you work hard and create amazing things. So now I kind of sit back and drop my ego and go, all right, if you think
she knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And you're usually pretty right, and I hate to say that. And I love it. My favorite thing is when Kirstie comes, hey, I'm sorry. It's like always like that too. Hey, I love you.
Who, me?
I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah, when you do it.
Yeah.
And it's always like an inside. I'm like, yes. I'm like, it's okay.
No, fuck off. It's like that. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. And he said, sorry, what did you say? And I'm like,
can I get that in writing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't quite hear you. Could you say it a little bit louder? You know,
I'm a sorry. Like I say sorry all the time. Like I throw it out there, but a lot of the times I do actually mean it, and I'm like genuine. I'm like, I'm actually fucking didn't mean to do that. And I feel like with the ADHD, you got time blindness, false sense of reality. Like sometimes I'm thinking a situation isn't the situation. You're like, I'm like, hey, these people are awesome, they like me, and they're like, no, I don't think they do. Or I'm like, this situation in business is this, and you're like, no, that's actually not right at all. But I believe I
can see people a mile away, and I can read a room, I can read people.
With my ADHD, I create a sense of reality in my head that I want, so I feel good.
100%.
And I think I've done that from a young age. So
that's it. So yeah, well, that's how we met, and that's all the little things in between. And I think, like, you know, with me and Beau, we've had always a lot of, you know, a lot of stuff right from the beginning, and I think that's what makes us so unique and so special. And, you know, end of the day, the
puzzle pieces fit perfectly. The
puzzle pieces,
and we've had some things that we've gotten through that we're going to talk about 100%. That are like no one would even expect that has happened to us. But, you know, and I do believe there's a lot of people out there that resonate. Like, we talk about it and they go, fuck, they've been through that too. Like, I went through that with my partner.
And at the end of the day, I truly believe, like, one thing that we always say is that we grow together, and we're constantly showing up and holding space for each other. And I think that's what's fucking amazing about us.
How many times I've done breath work for you and you've done breath work for me, or the conversations we've had, like, you know, I feel like we are our own psychologists.
Yeah.
And I feel like we actually are very good at holding space for each other.
Yeah. And
especially you for me.
And you for me. And I definitely think the reason for that is because we want the best for each other and for our relationship.
Well,
and
we're a team.
I want you to be just as happy as me. And, you know, when things are going on in the business, I'm like, okay, cool. What can we do to revamp this up so you got more of a part?
Yeah, and that's why we've been so successful, because when things went wrong in the business and I folded, you took over and took up on and took pressure off of me.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I always say with relationships, why they don't work, is because when you've got an issue arise, right? Say there's a money issue, right? We can't afford the bills this week. So instead of two people coming together to solve one problem,
they're going at each other.
They go at each other.
Yeah.
So they turn inwards and go, you got new hair, you're always getting your nails done. He goes to her, you fucking, you know, you go out with the boys, you drink too much beer. Instead of going, okay.
We go, okay, cool, what do we need to do?
What do we need to do together as a team? How do we make more money? I'll take more shifts at work. How about you?
I'll do more sales calls.
I'll do more sales calls, whatever. Yeah. And then the guy might go, look, I was going to have the boys this weekend. I will sacrifice that so we'll get on top of these bills.
100%.
The girl will go, that's fair enough. I'm not going to get my hair done this weekend.
Solving.
That's problem solving. When you've got two people blaming and going at each other, the relationship's never going to work.
No, because you just feel like you're attacking, and the man always feels like he's not good enough, and she always feels fucked off and frustrated. You know,
so you slowly go this way, and then
And then before you know it, bang, they're outsourcing, trying to feel good.
And
with
then
other people.
People always go like, I never seen this coming, and they talk to me about their relationships. I'm like, yeah. And when a woman checks out, man, she's checked out 12 months before she breaks
100%. All right.
Well, wow. that's how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met, and that's all the things in between. And the thing is, I think it's really important to know, like, we are just real people having a real relationship as well, and we both have past. And I've got no problem with his past. My thing is this: is that I've never ever had a problem with people's past. In fact, I love it, and I think it's all part of your story. And I say it
in my online program: your story is your power.
100%. And at the end of the day, like, the Beau Jury that I know is very, very different to the Beau Jury that the world knows. His family know this Beau Jury. There's a lot of close friends that
don't know the old stories about me having adult shops and strippers and having a lot of sex.
And then there's a lot of people right now that those old people don't really understand the new version of you.
And they may never understand.
And that's okay, because at the end of the day, like, I love you,
and I love
Harvey loves you.
Thank you.
And
I love Harvey
my kids love you, and we have built a beautiful life because we've got two beautiful humans in front of each other, just wanting to have the best for each other and the best for our life. And I would not be able to live this beautiful life without you, and vice versa. So I just want to say I love you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank
you.
Thank you
Grateful.
for everything that you bring to my world, and all the good and the bad. And I've always said Beau always brings the laughter to my world and lightens me up, and I bring a tad of seriousness and consequences. And I think that's
have you seen
dynamic.
My Name is Earl?
No.
So he's like does all this bad shit, and he goes around and tries to make it all right. And I do feel like
You're Earl.
Yeah, I've got to find, like, we fuck up, we hurt people along the way, we make mistakes, but I think life, literally aspect.
The lessons are in life.
My aspect on life is like, life's not about being perfect and getting right, but it is about making mistakes and growing and learning from them, and not even learning them for yourself, but passing that down. So to our clients, our friends, our kids, and
we had to go through what we've been through, so we can help as many people as possible.
And it's like you go back to the old times, right? When the person who invented electricity, the first few people must have died, surely. But the next do you know what I mean? And the next people had to get that, lessons from those people. Okay, we don't touch that while it's on. Yeah. And then 100%. They created power, and then they gave light and electricity to people.
And then the world changed.
And then the world changed. So it's the same as us. We're going to hurt people along the way, and that's okay. You can let go of guilt and shame and regret, as long as you fucking learn from your mistakes and then level up and grow and fucking teach other people, and then slowly we have electricity. We have emotionally pain-free people.
That's exactly right.
Well, thank you for joining another episode. Yeah, spill the tea, and let's go.
Let's fucking go.